I was born in Africa, and I had never been intrigued by the wealthy Africans who got their riches through unethical ways, especially African politicians.
The two-bob, tin-pot tyrant who runs this tiny African backwater gets around with an entourage worthy of a superpower. And he is just about the most horrible despot in the world today. President Teodoro Obiang Nguema Mbisogo. His people are amongst the poorest on earth, and he's amongst the richest.
This is one bad place. It's had one of the most appalling human rights records, probably in the world. Regular torture, regular extrajudicial killings. Until people found oil, nobody was really talking about Equatorial Guinea.
People like Mobutu Sese Seko. He was the president of the Democratic Republic of Congo from 1965 to 1971. He embezzled over $5 billion from his country, ranking him as the third most corrupt leader since 1984 and the most corrupt African leader during the same period. But there is nothing to show of the stolen money.
Was it like? Very, very beautiful. How was the palace? It was very, very beautiful, actually. The many rituals when we go.
This is one of his daughters.
At the entrance, in your left, on the road, there were one Picasso's painting.
International Airport was built in the middle of a jungle. It was a vanity project. That was a plush VIP reception area. This, a huge terminal. Concorde landed here, bringing in luxury goods like pink champagne for then-President Mobutu. Today, it's just a shell.
Mobutu is just one among many. Here is a thought held by many Africans that to become wealthy, you have to be involved in corruption, which is widespread across my motherland. But this theory changed when I came across one man, very intelligent and inspiring, the man Aliko Dangote. He is ranked by the Forbes as the richest man in Africa. I began my quest to find out who is Aliko Dangote and where he got the principles that have seen him flourish in business. My findings blew my mind. Without any further ado, this is Aliko Dangote's. Alassane Dantata, Aliko's great-grandfather, was born in 1877 in a place called Bebeji, Nigeria. Dantata had a rough upbringing. His father, Abdullahi, died around 1885. Dantata was left in the care of an old slave woman called Tata. Dantata's mother decided to go to Ghana, where she had commercial interest. When Dantata was a teenager, a civil war occurred in Nigeria.
What is this thing doing here? Who is responsible for this thing?
I will. All of you that have seen your family killed, you now have something that stands for you. It has put the weapons of this war back in your hands of youth.
This lasted between 1893 to 1895. Dantata and his brothers were captured and held for ransom under the threat of slavery. They paid the ransom and they were freed. Through hardships, Dantata, Aliko's great-grandfather, grew to love doing business. He traded in kola nuts and ground nuts. Instead of Dantata bringing kola nuts on pack animals, he used steamships to transport them between Accra and Lagos. He was the first to develop this route. During this time, he got noticed by Europeans. He was the main distributor to the European market. This helped him to establish his wealth. He became so rich that he was known all over West Africa. At the time of his death, he was the wealthiest man in the whole of West Africa. He died in 1955. Alassane Dantata was married to woman Zaria. Among his children was his son Sanusi Dantata, who had a daughter by the name of Maria Sanusi Dantata, who is Aliko Dangote's mother. Alassane Dantata is Aliko Dangote's great-grandfather. This is Aliko Dangote's family tree. Aliko Dangote was born on the 10th of April 1957. He is the son of late Mohammed Dangote and Maria Sanusi Dantata. The same year Dangote was born, Nigeria's House of Representatives passed a motion requesting independence from Great Britain and calling on the colonial power to officially set the date for independence for the October 1st, 1960. Alhaji Abubakar Balewa was named Nigeria's first prime minister. On Independence Day, there were lots of joy and celebration. Finally, Nigeria had become a sovereign state. Aliko Dangote was 3 years old when Nigeria got independence.
Happy Independence Day.
Happy Independence.
Around this time, Aliko's father Mohammed Dangote was into politics and business at the same time. 5 years later, Dangote Sr. died. A year after, in 1966, Nigeria coup d'etat took place. During the coup, 22 people were killed, including the Prime Minister of Nigeria, senior politicians, and senior army officers, including their wives. The coup plotters were subdued by a general officer commanding the Nigerian army, Johnson Agwehi Aronsi, who took control of the country. It was alleged by the coup plotters that this was the intention of the coup, for General Aronsi to ascend to power. This was the beginning of dark times in the West African country.
It's happened. There's been a coup.
What's happening in Lagos?
This is the beginning. Yes.
Passport! Bring out your passports!
How can I leave my children and run to safety?
You will be fine.
Why are you running? Where are you running to?
Mama, people are fleeing.
It's dangerous. I feel as if I have been dropped into something that I don't entirely understand.
So worried when Port Harcourt fell.
He was raised by his grandfather, Sanusi Dantata. Dangote's father, Mohammed Dangote, passed away when he was just 8 years old. So he was taken up by his grandfather. His grandfather paid for Dangote's school fees. Young Dangote went to Sheikh Ali Kamusi Madrasa and progressed to Capital High School, Kano, for his secondary education. Around this time, there was a retaliation by the northern members of the Nigerian army, which led to the death of many innocent soldiers and civilians, and later caused the outbreak of Nigerian civil war. Exactly in 1967, a civil war broke out in Nigeria between the government of Nigeria and the Republic of Biafra. The conflict also resulted from political, economic, ethnic, cultural, and religious tensions between northern and southern Nigeria. During this time, Dangote was living with his uncle Alhaji Abdul Kadir Dandata. The most interesting thing with young Dangote happened when he was in primary school. He said that he would go and buy cartons of sweets and would sell them to make money. His interest in business started at a very young age. Although he was born into a wealthy family, Dangote discovered the business world by himself from an early age.
David, one thing that I'm very, very proud of is that I did not inherit any money from my father. I built everything from scratch to where I am.
Although Dangote comes from a family with wealthy background, Dangote never inherited any wealth. He hustled his way up with a little help from his uncle Dandata. He says he built his empire from ground up.
Well, I came from a wealthy family. My grandfather was my great-grandfather from my mother's side was actually very, very wealthy, Alasan Tata. And then his son, also Sanusi Tata, whom really raised me up because, I lost my dad at the age of 8. And, so after educating me, he gave me a loan of which I was grateful, and I paid back in 3 months, because business was so good. And, I was able to establish myself from the trading to, manufacturing, and now to a lot of daring things, like refinery, the agricultural process that we're doing, and also the, fertilizer.
His passion for business propelled him to join business school, where he graduated with a bachelor's degree in business studies and administration from Al-Azhar University, Cairo. After graduating at the age of 20, he returned to his country, Nigeria, where he started his professional career in business. Dangote needed some experience in business, so he worked with his uncle for a few months, whereafter which he decided to go on his own.
I started work with my, uncle, but there's few months, and then I went to Lagos, and now I started my own business by just, buying cement, selling. It was just a very low-key business.
Dangote got a loan from his uncle Dandata, which he repaid in just 3 months.
Well, I came from a wealthy family. My grandfather was my great-grandfather from my mother's side was actually very, very wealthy, Alasan Tata. And then his son, also Sanusi Tata, whom really raised me up because, I lost my dad at the age of 8. And, so after educating me, he gave me a loan of which I was grateful, and I paid back in 3 months, because business was so good. And, I was able to establish myself from the trading to, manufacturing, and now to a lot of daring things, like refinery, the agricultural process that we're doing, and also the, fertilizer.
He started small as a trader, bought cement, and sold it at a profit. The booming African economy is in need of cement due to the growing infrastructures, positioned Dangote in a favorable position to become the largest supplier of cement on the African continent.
The issue is that when you look at cement is what builds infrastructure. And we need a lot of infrastructural deficit. In Nigeria alone, we have about 17,000 deficit of housing. And it is all over in Africa. So when we started cement in Nigeria, we realized that majority of it was actually imported. And that is why we went in there, we started, and it's a long story.
Dangote's business took off from here. This is where things get more interesting. He made a very smart decision to move to Lagos, Nigeria's capital. He established the Dangote Group in 1977. Dangote discovered something very crucial from the very beginning. For his company to grow, he had to relocate to Lagos, Nigeria. He expanded to trading in sugar and other household commodities. He focused his business on household commodities that were in demand and never involved himself or his company in the oil industry.
Right. As you say, your business spans a lot of different sectors: cement, flour, salt.
Yes.
Let me just ask you this. Why commodities in a country like Nigeria, where oil is king? Why not get into the oil business right away?
Well, you see, at first, really, what we thought of doing as a company, we said that, look, let us work very, very hard and get there first. You know, because if we had followed that trend of dealing in oil, would have actually tainted our name, you know, that name, because, yes, you know, the household name, because people will always think that, look, you have made this much money because you did a lot of unethical deals in oil industry, you know, because you know the story of the oil industry. So we actually kept out of oil at all and just concentrated on food items.
The business was booming, trading household commodities. The key here is that Dangote understood what the people needed and chose to meet those needs. His company has expanded to other African countries, providing millions of jobs.
We spent average of $100 million in Dangote Foundation, which we set up in 1993. And then again, I've just did additional endowment to the foundation, which was $1.25 billion. With that, yes, we do that on the philanthropic side. But then, in terms of creating of jobs, we now have this farm which we have developed. I mean, we are doing almost about 120,000 hectares of rice land, you know, and then we are doing 260,000 hectares of sugar, which we are targeting to do 1.5 million tons of sugar in the next 5 years. This will create 180,000 jobs.
He resisted entering the oil booming industry because he saw that it would taint his company. Something worth noting: the year before Aliko was born, oil had just been discovered in Niger Delta after half a century of exploration. This was in 1956. It was not all smooth sailing. In December 1983, Nigeria experienced a major military coup under the leadership of Major General Muhammadu Buhari. This military coup led to the ousting of the democratically elected government of President Shehu Shagari and the installation of Major General Buhari as the head of state. This coup set off a rolling dice of events in the years that followed, as we will see later. Nigeria was to be one of the strongest economies in the entire Africa due to the discovery of its oil.
A city in chaos.
But the economy was in a mess after the coup of 1983. Wherever oil was discovered, it was mismanaged due to the enrichment of a few. In all this time, Aliko Dangote was hustling through these tough economic times. He used the profits from one business to start another business. He believes in business sustainability.
What we do as Dangote Group, we use our businesses, like now we're using our current businesses to build the future of the business. Like when we're in sugar, it was the sugar profit that we used in building the cement. Now with this cement, we're building so many things, you know, refinery, fertilizer, you know, petroleum products, and then we're doing also petrochemicals.
Dangote supports Africans, taking lead in the development of their economies, and other countries will follow suit.
The local people must move first. When they move first, then they will be supported by the foreign investors.
He is particular in choosing which sector to invest in. This has seen him amass wealth by focusing on where he invests his money.
So I think it is where you should invest. Even myself as an African, I cannot invest in every single sector, so I have to be very choosy of where I invest.
Aliko Dangote has ambitious plans of building the largest single-line oil refinery in the world, processing 650,000 barrels per day. And the reason why Aliko Dangote decided to go into the oil industry is because he is solving the problem of lack of petroleum products, including fuel for vehicles.
The country was over 200 million and we're importing 100% of what we consume. It is not sustainable. If you go to a lot of areas, maybe my village or your village, you'll see that petrol stations, they are not working. So we now realize that, yes, why? Because the petroleum products that we're having is hand to mouth. Whatever that we have is what we are consuming. So this actually, pushed me into saying that, look, you know what? This is a big challenge, it's a big issue. Somebody has to address it, and we will take the challenge of addressing this issue.
In many countries, oil discovery has been tagged as a curse due to the mismanagement of the oil money. But Dangote is here to change that narrative.
And what we want to do is to tell the real narrative of Africa and tell the rest of the world what Africa is all about. So this is now to do with policy, business, and culture.
The oil refinery comprises 3 components: refinery, petrochemical, and fertilizer. This is a massive project which will employ lots of Nigerians. Dangote plans to also buy Arsenal Football Club after completing the 20 billion projects at hand.
So the Arsenal team, and is that a team that you would like to buy someday?
It is a team that, yes, I would like to buy, someday. But like what I keep saying, today we have $20 billion worth of projects. And I think that's really what I want to concentrate on. I'm trying to finish building the company, and then after we finish, maybe sometime in 2021.
There are 3 main attributes that Dangote says have made him successful in business.
If you are going into any business, you must understand the business A to Z. You must know that business. You shouldn't just go and invest because somebody now will say, okay, hey, there's good money in cement, then you go and jump into cement. You have to understand the business in and out. And that's the difference with me. I know my business in and out. You can wake me up any time and ask me about fertilizer, ask me about anything that we are doing. And the other one is really to work very hard, and you have to have the tenacity of continuing to, you have some hiccups here and there, but you have to be focused in terms of what you are doing.
In conclusion, Africa is on the rise, and people like Aliko Dangote have paved the way for many young Africans to take hold of their destiny. Thank you for watching to the end of this video. If you like this video, like and comment, and also remember to subscribe to the channel. Until next time, peace. Also consider watching our other videos on my left.